My parents always favored sister. All my life, I secretly became a $10 million investor, Thanksgiving. Meltdown exposes their hypocrisy. Whenever people ask about my childhood, I tend to change the subject. It wasn't that I had a terrible upbringing. I had food, shelter, and the basics, but it was far from ideal. My name is Deborah. I'm 38, and I'm sharing my story not for sympathy, but in case it resonates with someone else. Everything changed when I was 8. My sister Amanda was born prematurely. I remember my dad rushing to the hospital while Aunt Jennifer stayed with me. Everyone was anxious, including me. I didn't fully understand what a premature birth meant, but I knew something was wrong. Amanda survived, but she was incredibly fragile. Our home started to feel like a hospital. My mom was constantly disinfecting everything. The sharp smell of antiseptic never left. If I so much as sniffled, my mom's worry wasn't for me, it was for Amanda. "Was that a cough, Deborah?" she'd ask, alarmed. "We can't risk Amanda getting sick. Pack a bag. You'll stay with Grandma." I spent a lot of time at Grandma's or Aunt Jennifer's, like I was carrying a contagion. At first, it felt like a small adventure. Eventually, I realized I was being pushed aside. I tried hard to win my parents' attention. I got top grades, joined the debate team, even won a science fair, but Amanda's health always overshadowed everything. "Look, Mom, I won the science fair," I'd say, holding up my trophy. "That's nice, dear. Did you wash your hands?" "Amanda's feeling under the weather," she'd reply without looking. By the time Amanda was 7, she was healthy and thriving, but my parents never stopped coddling her. Amanda figured out early on how to use this to her advantage, faking vulnerability when she wanted something. I thought high school would be my time to shine. I worked hard, kept up my grades, joined clubs. Still, Amanda's needs always took the spotlight. One evening, my science teacher told my parents I had a real shot at a scholarship. "Deborah is one of our brightest students," he said. Just then, my mom's phone rang. Amanda, home with the babysitter, was sobbing. She couldn't find her favorite pen. "The one Deborah gave me is awful," she whined. That was enough. My parents rushed home, forgetting all about my teacher's praise, just to find a pen. After that, they stopped coming to my school events altogether. "It's just easier," they said. Amanda gets upset if she's left out. When I won the state debate championship, they didn't display my trophy. "Amanda doesn't like seeing other people's awards," Mom explained, sliding it into a drawer. "Getting into college should have been a proud moment." I earned a full scholarship to state, covering tuition and housing. I walked through the front door beaming. Amanda barely looked up. "Finally. Now I can turn your room into a gaming setup. I want 3 monitors and a streaming rig." From then on, I started counting the days until I could leave. College went by quickly. I stayed on campus as much as possible. Home was just a place for occasional dinners where Amanda dominated every conversation with her school gossip. At 23, I graduated and landed a managerial job at Thompson & Company. The pay wasn't glamorous, but I had my own place, and that was enough for me. One day, scrolling online, I saw an ad. "Learn how to make your money work for you." Normally, I'd scroll past, but this time I didn't. The course had a fee, but I could swing it if I stuck to instant noodles for a while. That choice changed everything. The instructor, Matthew, made investing feel accessible. I started small, putting a few $100s into tech stocks, then slowly increased my portfolio. I studied the market, learned about risk, and stayed consistent. My first big win came from investing in a small AI company. $375 turned into $3,500 in 3 months. A biotech startup later tripled my return. Soon, I was making more from investments than from my day job. I'll never forget the day I realized I could quit. Sitting at my desk, pretending to care, I checked my investment app. One of my stocks had hit its target, and my returns had tripled my salary. I wrote my resignation letter on the spot. Still, I kept attending family dinners, maybe out of habit, maybe a faint hope things would be different. I'd sit there eating Mom's overcooked chicken while Amanda monopolized the conversation. My investments kept growing in the background. "Deborah, you're still at Thompson's, right?" Mom would ask, not even listening to my answer. "Yep, same job," I'd reply, knowing she'd already tuned out. They didn't know I'd left 2 years ago, and now made more in a day than I used to in a month. Amanda, meanwhile, had been accepted into Carleton University, a costly private school. "It's so expensive," Mom would sigh, though clearly proud. "But Amanda deserves the best. She needs to fit in," Amanda added while twirling pasta. "Everyone has Gucci backpacks. We're not like them." Then one evening, I came over to find Mom crying over bills. Dad was drowning in paperwork. "Property taxes went up again," he muttered. "Plus Amanda's tuition." Despite everything, they were still my parents. That night, I set up an automatic transfer of $7,000 a month into their account. When I told them, Mom hugged me, for the first time in years. "This helps so much," she said. I allowed myself to hope things might change, but that hope quickly vanished when I overheard them in the kitchen. "We should give some of Deborah's money to Amanda," Mom whispered. "She's struggling to keep up appearances." "Good idea," Dad agreed. "Maybe she can finally get that designer bag she wants." I stood there, silent, shaking my head. They were plotting to spend my money, not out of gratitude, but to boost Amanda's image. By the time I was 29, I was ready for a change. My investments had exceeded expectations, and I was tired of renting. After months of searching, I bought a beautiful apartment, secure, well-built, and with a great view. No mortgage, no debt, just mine. When Mom called to check in, really just to talk about Amanda, I casually mentioned I was moving. "Did you find a cheaper rental?" she asked, distracted. "Just somewhere different." "Better location," I replied vaguely. "Well, don't overspend. Your field is so unstable." I nearly laughed. If only she knew I was now managing millions, not filing paperwork at Thompson's. At our next family gathering, Aunt Jennifer asked about my new place. Before I could answer, Mom cut in. "Deborah's renting somewhere new," she said flatly. "But Amanda, she's graduating top of her class." As usual, the conversation shifted to Amanda's latest achievement. Everyone gushed. Occasionally, someone would look at me with polite pity. "Amanda's going places," Dad declared. "She's always been our star." "Unlike some people who settle," my cousin muttered to his wife, loud enough for me to hear. I sipped my wine, thinking about the trade I'd made that morning, one that earned more than his yearly salary. But I said nothing. Amanda's graduation party was the last straw. My parents went all out, catering, elegant decor, the works. I couldn't help noticing that a lot of my monthly transfers had funded it. Amanda strutted around in her gown, beaming. She found me by the punch bowl. "Look at this, Deborah," she said, waving her diploma. "Carleton University. Not some state school like you went to. I already have interviews lined up. I'm not going to be pushing papers like you." I took another sip and replied simply, "Congratulations, Amanda." "That's all you have to say?" "Yes, that was all." She laughed. "Aren't you jealous? I'm going to be so successful, and you're just you." She stood there practically shaking, waiting for me to admit she was better than me. I could have easily mentioned my investment portfolio, the apartment I own outright, or how I earn more before breakfast than she'll make in her entire first year. But what would have been the point? Instead, I simply shrugged and walked away, leaving her there clutching her degree like it could protect her from her own self-doubt. 3 months after graduation, Amanda was still job hunting. Those companies she bragged about, the ones supposedly eager to hire her, weren't as impressed with her expensive diploma as she'd hoped. Meanwhile, her student loan bills had begun to roll in. One evening, Mom called. "Deborah, do you have a moment to talk?" I already knew what was coming. Amanda's loan payments. She paused, probably trying to build some dramatic effect. "They're really putting a strain on us. And with everything else going on, I hate to even ask, but could you possibly—" "How much do you need?" I interrupted, already knowing I'd regret it. "Well, if you could raise your monthly contribution to $3,500, it would be a lifesaver." I thought of all the times they'd downplayed my achievements, every moment Amanda had ridiculed my work. Then I thought about my bank account, comfortably in the 7-figure range, a fact my family remained completely unaware of. "All right," I said. "I'll increase the payments starting next month." Mom barely finished thanking me before launching into a plan for the money. "This will help so much with Amanda's loans, and maybe we can get her some professional outfits for interviews." A few weeks later, Amanda finally landed a job at the same company where Dad had some connections. He knew the HR director from college. The irony wasn't lost on me when Amanda walked in proudly with a manager title. One weekend, I visited our parents' house and found Amanda on the couch, browsing apartment listings. "Everything's so overpriced," she complained. "I can't believe I have to live here with Mom and Dad. It's humiliating." "You might consider a smaller place," I suggested. "Or maybe something outside the city." She looked at me like I'd suggested she live under a bridge. "I need to be in the right neighborhood, Deborah. Not that you'd understand. Some of us have standards." I glanced at the modest living room, where she was currently staying rent-free, but held my tongue. She sighed, tossing her phone aside. "This is just temporary. Unlike you, I won't be stuck as a manager forever. I have real potential." As Thanksgiving approached, Mom got swept up in her usual hosting frenzy. Every year she insisted on handling everything, turning the kitchen into chaos. But this year was different. "I have no idea what I'm going to do," she said over the phone a week before Thanksgiving. "I pulled my back doing Amanda's laundry, and now I can barely move. How can I cook for 20 people?" "Let me take care of it," I offered. "I'll have everything catered from that new restaurant downtown." Mom's tone instantly lifted. "You're such a wonderful daughter. I don't know what we'd do without you." On a video call, I caught a glimpse of Amanda in the background, rolling her eyes. Even a small compliment sent her spiraling. Thanksgiving Day unfolded like any other family event. The food arrived on time, and I helped Mom set up while doing my best to ignore Amanda's commentary about store-bought stuffing. I'd brought my laptop. Asian stock markets opened during our dinner, and I had investments to track. I set it up in my old bedroom, left it running, and joined the family. The meal was excellent, better than Mom's usual dry turkey. As everyone got settled, Mom mentioned her injured back. "I was so worried about cooking," she told the room, full of aunts, uncles, and cousins. "But Deborah stepped in and got us this amazing meal." "That was really generous," Aunt Jennifer smiled. "I bet it wasn't cheap." "Oh, it's nothing," I replied. "I'm just glad everyone's enjoying it. She earns enough in her manager role to help us quite a bit," Mom added proudly, for once. Across the table, Amanda's face darkened. Suddenly, she shoved her chair back and left the room. I figured it was one of her usual fits, until she came back holding my laptop. Her smirk sent a wave of unease through me. "Let's see how well Deborah's really doing," she said, her voice thick with sarcasm. "She's so generous. Surely she won't mind if we take a peek at her bank balance." I jumped up. "Amanda, don't—" Too late. She turned the screen to the room. The banking app was still open from earlier. Silence followed. Amanda's face went pale. Her hands shook. "Amanda?" Mom's voice wavered. "What is it? What does it say?" Amanda whispered. 10 million. The room fell into stunned quiet. I could hear the wall clock ticking and the refrigerator humming. "There must be a mistake," Aunt Jennifer muttered. "Deborah's just a manager at Thompson." "I haven't worked at Thompson in years," I said, finally being honest. "I left to focus on investing. I studied, took courses, and got really good at it." "You mean you're rich?" Amanda's voice cracked. I nodded. "I've been investing for years. Started small, kept learning. And yes, that account has $10 million. I wasn't hiding it. You just never asked." The silence lasted only seconds. Then Mom let out a scream. "10 million? You let us struggle?" I blinked. "Struggle? I send you $2,000 every month." Her voice rose. "Your sister has loans. We have bills. How could you be so selfish?" Dad looked furious. "We raised you better than this. You've let your own family suffer while you sit on a fortune?" Something inside me snapped. Years of being the overlooked daughter, the reliable, forgettable one, bubbled over. "Oh, so saving money is selfish now? Tell me, where was all your smart planning when it came time to pay for Amanda's college?" I glared at them. "Oh, that's right. You didn't save a cent because everything went to her. And you didn't pay for mine either. I earned a full scholarship. Amanda chose a pricey private school and racked up debt." "That's different," Mom snapped. Amanda wanted. I cut her off. It's always about Amanda." I took a deep breath. "My money is mine. I earned every dollar." $3,500 is nothing to you," Mom yelled. "You should be giving us $10,000. I laughed bitterly. $10,000? So you can keep spoiling Amanda?" I turned to her. "You tried to expose me as a failure. How's that working out for you? The sister you mocked for being just a manager actually built something real. How does that feel?" The room sat frozen. Forks paused midair, eyes darting from face to face like a live drama. "If you're so successful," Mom sneered, "then you should support your family. It's your duty." I stepped closer to Amanda and took my laptop back. "No, that duty ended the moment you decided I didn't count. You invested everything in Amanda, the special one. Well, let her take care of you now." Aunt Jennifer tried to calm things down. "Maybe we should all take a breath." But it was too late. Mom and Dad shouted, voices blending into a storm of accusations. Amanda burst into tears, her go-to move. I didn't say another word. I just walked out of the house I once called home. By the time I got to my apartment, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Calls, texts, all demanding. Then, guilt-tripping. At first I replied, thinking they might finally understand. They didn't. They just wanted my money. Then Mom took it to social media. Her post was a masterclass in manipulation. "My heart is broken to discover my eldest daughter has become wealthy while her family struggles. She refuses to help her sister or support her aging parents. Money truly changes people." She ended it with, "Please pray for Deborah." The backlash came fast. Family friends, old classmates, everyone had opinions. How could she be so cold? I always knew something was off about her. Mom replied to each one with teary emojis and thank yous. The relatives who were actually there stayed silent, but that didn't stop the wave of judgment. That was the last straw. I opened my banking app and canceled the automatic transfers. Then I messaged Mom, "I've stopped the payments. I'm done being your ATM. Don't contact me again." They didn't get it. The calls increased. Amanda started using different numbers. Dad left endless voicemails about family duty. Mom doubled down online, rewriting the story again. I blocked them all, calls, emails, every account. But I knew that wouldn't be enough. So I contacted James, the front desk manager. "I need to add some people to the do not allow in list," I said. I gave him their names, photos, and descriptions. Sure enough, the next day, James called. They'd shown up. trying to force their way into the building. They caused a scene in the lobby, threatened staff, and even said they'd call the police. That night, I sat down at my laptop and started browsing houses in other states. People might call it running away. I call it setting boundaries. They had years to treat me with respect, to value me like they did Amanda. But they didn't. They dismissed me until they needed something. Now, I've seen their true colors, and I feel no guilt in cutting them off. As I scroll through listings in distant cities, all I feel is relief. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is walk away, even if that means walking away from your own family.